what I'd like to do is I'd actually like to test your grey water system. I'd like to test it for the pH and the EC, electrical conductivity.
I've got a wetlands in my backyard that I established about 3-4 years ago. I guess the motivation for it was to conserve water and to look at a lush environment, to have a wetlands type garden feature. Looked around a lot. There wasn't much information available at the time. There was a site in WA which had some guidelines to implementing a trench-based wetlands, which was what I was after. And from there, looked around for plants, which again was hard to find the right plants with the right information about which ones would be most tolerant to salt and sodium and which ones were intolerant to it, and a lot of the natives were. But there was a guy I met from a pool magazine. He had an ad in a pool magazine. He provided sort of various pool plants to ponds and people with ponds. And he was great. He provided me with lots of plants to get started, including the papyrus, which is sort of 10 feet high now. Yeah, it's been good. There's been a few problems with leakage from the tank. There's questions and concerns about whether the dog can drink the water from it. But I figure given she drinks water out of Merry Creek that it's not going to be any worse than that. Otherwise it's been a great feature, and all year round it's green and lush, despite the rest of the garden turning brown. For a lot of issues around water especially, the concern is worse than the reality. Having water year in, year out that's deriving from your own internal use that you can use on your garden has been fantastic. So there are aspects of the garden that would be dead and buried if I hadn't had the wetlands. Plus the wetlands in themselves are a feature that I've only just touched upon because with the galloping Labrador in the garden, she's damaged a lot of it, but you've got plants from the carnivorous sort of plants that eat flies that live in bogs right through to the 15-foot papyrus that can be garden features, and I think it's sort of not, and it's all being watered from your internal plumbing and your day-to-day showers.
Okay, Paul, I've measured the EC pH. The EC is relatively stable through the system, which is a good sign. That means that what you've got is a fairly, you've got a system in equilibrium. Basically you've got enough of the saline water and enough of things like rinse water from your various parts of your laundry and that. So what's happening is that it's not too concentrated in salts, it's not too concentrated in things like phosphorus and sodium. So you have got an equal mix of good water and salty water, so that the system itself has a relatively, it's a relatively healthy system to start with. The pH is really quite high at the front, at the start, but what happens is that as the water moves through the system, the plants are doing quite a lot of work on the water quality, and you'll find, we've found at the end at the end of the trough system that the pH is basically neutral. So the water you're putting on your garden has quite a good quality to it. It's actually quite nice. So.
Excellent.